All right, welcome. It's the Rains-Feldman Cyber Liability Update with Scott on my left, Steve on the right. I'm Eric Syverson, and we're here today to talk about an interesting libel case. We do a lot of libel and defamation law, and today we're going to talk about Donald Trump, who has been a plaintiff, some might say a serial defamation plaintiff, but today, Steve, I'll throw it to you. I hear that Mr. Trump was a defendant in a libel lawsuit. Tell us what happened.
So, Donald Trump was sued by a political correspondent reporter who had said some not so nice things about Donald Trump during his campaign. Donald Trump did what he did throughout his campaign, went on Twitter and made some nasty comments about this person. And specifically said, this person begged us for a job and was a loser. Sort of explaining in response to the negative comments about Trump. So it was sort of well, this is why she's saying bad things about us, because she wanted a job from us and we said no. Came and begged us twice. That correspondent, Cheryl Jacobus, filed a suit in New York for defamation against Trump and his campaign advisor at the time, Lewandowski. That's right. Yeah, Lewandowski. And so Trump moved to dismiss the complaint as protected free speech.
Yeah, and so what happened? I mean, did the court grant his motion? Did the court toss this case?
The court found in Trump's favor, tossed the case. The court, at the end of the day, said, you got to look at the context, you got to look at the forum that's going on, what the speech is about, and said here, it's a political discussion going on. The statements about being a loser and begging for a job are at a minimum hyperbolic statements. There was no denial that Cheryl Jacobus had talked to the Trump campaign about a position. Her position was she turned them down twice. The court didn't really care who did it, and in context noted that Trump's Twitter feed uses these kinds of insults, shortened insults, because he only has 140 characters in a tweet. He routinely uses shortened insults that are meant not to be taken literally, but as hyperbolic sort of statements of opinion about these people.
Oh, that's interesting, and that's in our practice. I think that's the eternal battle right now with regard to internet speech and forums like Twitter or Glassdoor, some of the spaces or venues where we've had litigation, and that is, does the mere fact that it's on Twitter, does that venue make it so that the speech itself is opinion or hyperbole? In other words, do people going to that forum not take things literally? What do you think about that, Scott?
Yeah, so there tends to be a more leeway on the internet for people to post nasty things. There's more of a sense that that's what people do on the internet, and there even seems to be a more tolerance when it comes to what is opinion and what is fact. In general, people can't sue for someone just stating an opinion. There are exceptions to that, but that's the general rule, and that's what came into play here. But if someone makes factual statements that are false, that's when you have an action to sue. And so that was here. The question was whether it was opinion or fact. And so, yes, you get away with more on the internet, seems like. And also, I'm curious whether what happens here if the New York Court of Appeal doesn't reverse this. It seems to me that when you say there was a factual, I understand hyperbole, that he called her a loser, that's an opinion, and that's hyperbole. But he did seemingly make a factual statement that they turned her down for a job, whereas she's saying the truth is, no, I turned you down. And it seems to me to be a material difference that could, in theory, affect her. And so I'm wondering what the New York Court of Appeal is going to do.
Yeah, the other thing that the opinion really didn't touch on that I find interesting, especially with a defendant like a Donald Trump, he has 20 million Twitter followers, so, I wonder if we start getting opinions on damages, because if you think about it as a plaintiff, and that's being, that's I'm guessing a circulation much larger than the New York Times, for example. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is we now have a number of individuals, politicians and celebrities, with circulation greater than the New York Times, or readership greater than, the CBS Nightly News, for example. I don't know what their ratings are, but I'm guessing on a good day they might get 5 million people tuning in these days. So, I think that someone like the plaintiff in this case may potentially have a large damages case, but that really didn't come up here. So at the end of the day, we have a politician with a history of insulting people, and it really seems that the fact that he has a long history of insulting people online really worked to Donald Trump's favor here in getting him out as a defendant.
Yeah, it seemed like he was rewarded for it.
Donald Trump continues to be rewarded in many ways for, aggressive, perhaps bad behavior online. So chalk up another victory for Donald Trump, and that's the cyber liability update for this week.